Hi, ladies and gentlemen. I am Morris Merriweather, the host of Straight Talk in Room 503. I thank you again for joining me this week. I look forward to talking to you about the failure of public education. Also, I'm the host of Straight Talk in Room 503, as I've stated, and also the author of Enough is Enough. Public education has spiraled out of control. Ladies and gentlemen, as I normally do, I talk about what's going on in my hometown. And then from there, we talk about what's going on in your hometown. Have you heard me say so many times before? The same thing that's going on in my hometown, the similar thing is going on in your hometown. You're just not understanding what's going on, or you're not showing interest in it. But it's the same thing. People are people no matter where you go. Ladies and gentlemen, as I normally say, we want to begin this session of Straight Talk will be on the subject, who told you so? Now, let me see if I can build that for you so you can understand this session. Who told you so? If you remember in the Bible, when Jesus walked into paradise, where Adam and Eve was, they had sinned. So Adam was hiding from God. So when God walked into the Garden of Eden, he says, Adam, where art thou? Adam said, here, Lord. He said, why are you hiding? He said, I'm naked. And God said to him, who told you so? He knew then that Adam was listening to other voices. Adam was not listening to God. So I say to you, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to public education, who told you that we couldn't improve public education? You must be listening to the voices of the good old boys and the so-called political leaders who you voted for. Ladies and gentlemen, God says that in his word, you can do all things through Christ Jesus who strengthened you. You're not willing to listen to God. You're willing, as Adam, to listen to Eve. You're willing to listen to those people that does not have your child and your children, your nieces, your nephew, your cousin, your friends, interests at heart. But I tell you what, those that are in support of the voucher system and those who are supporting private school, they are listening to each other. But ladies and gentlemen, those in public education, they're listening to the wrong leaders. So ladies and gentlemen, who told you that we couldn't improve public education? Who told you that we could not get the superintendent that was best for all of the students? Who told you that we couldn't hire African-American males and females, in particular male teachers for the school system? Who told you we couldn't do that? You are allowing the good old boys to talk to you. Who told you that we couldn't have a board that just not made up of whoever go out and get 25 people to sign their petition? Most of them are not educators. They have no vague idea as to what going on in the public school system. But they was able to go out and get 25 people and get the good old boys to put money into their campaign and get them elected so that they can control the school board. Who told you that we couldn't stop this corruption? Ladies and gentlemen, join me this week as we get further into discussion of who told you so in public education. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. Call a friend, tell a friend that Morris Merriweather is on the show and he's in class now talking about what we need to do to improve public education, that every boy and every girl, no matter their racial background or their race or anything, that they are entitled to a public education and they can get it if they would just quit listening to the wrong voices. I'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, let me start right here in my hometown. This is my local paper, the Jackson Sun. And ladies and gentlemen, this is on November the 20th, this past Sunday. It talks about, the headline says, school, juvenile court at odds over bad behavior. Ladies and gentlemen, let me say this. Someone tell me, how we can improve public education if our leadership can't get along. Now, let's go back to the classroom. When you have students that's on the playground and they can't get along with each other, you'll hear the instructor says, if you all can't play together, we're going to go back inside. If you keep arguing and not getting along, we're going back inside. Well, then someone tell me, why is it that our so-called intelligent leaders, intelligent people who in our community that we see in the grocery store, we see in church, and we see in the community, and we're so busy, how you Miss So-and-so, how you attorney so-and-so, how you superintendent so-and-so, how you pastor so-and-so, and they are allowing our so-called leadership to hurt our kids on a daily basis. But yet you have the utmost of respect for them. I don't understand that. So, ladies and gentlemen, the three players are the superintendent, the juvenile court judge, and the sheriff of my hometown. All of them are not seeing eye to eye on how to deal with juveniles in the school system. The talk is about the resource officer. In your hometown as well as in my hometown, there are resource officers which are in the school system to make it safe for all students. But what is happening, a great majority of the students who are being suspended and sent to the juvenile court system are of African American descent. Ladies and gentlemen, they are placed in the detention center. Once in the detention center, they contact the parents. I know because I've spent 13 years working for juvenile court as a juvenile court officer. Once they're placed in the detention center, the parents are contacted to come and get the child. Well, the parents doesn't want the child at home no more than the teacher wants some of them in the school system, and they will not come and get them. So they have to then threaten the parents. But ladies and gentlemen, I never had a problem as the administrator in the school system contacting the parents and getting the parents to come to the school. They would leave their job. They would come and spend as much time as they possibly could when I would call them. Ladies and gentlemen, it's all in the leadership. I'm not patting myself on the back and giving me any praise at all. All praise and glory to my success in my over 25 years in the school system, I give completely to God. Because you heard me say it so many times before. My background was not in education. My background was in juvenile justice. But when God get ready to use you, no matter what your background, he equip you. And that's what he did for me. And that's what he did for the students and the parents that I work with. But ladies and gentlemen, it was just a matter of letting the parents know, I love your child and I'm concerned about your child. But I can't help your child if you're not willing to work too. This is team effort. But in the school system, our superintendent does not want to hire people that looks like me. They're hiring people, or she hiring people that looks like someone else. And therefore, without training, how can you deal with me and you don't understand me? How can you deal with me and you don't love me? Can't you tell? Can't you tell when your wife has lost interest in you? Can't you tell when you are losing interest in your love mate and your friend? Can't you tell? Well, ladies and gentlemen, don't be stupid. Give the child a chance. A child can tell when you genuinely care about them. Now, how are you going to get anything out of a person and they know you don't care? Can you get anything out of your enemies? Can you go to your enemies for favors? Absolutely not. Because they have no interest in you and you have no interest in them. And that's the same in our school system. That's where a lot of the problem is. We're hiring people so that they can get a salary, so that they can get their child into the school system, their cousin, their nieces. That's the purpose of the good old boys. Wonder why the elite people of the city, so-called elite, are so busy in politics. Because it's a lot of benefit. It's money benefit. They're getting business, they're getting contracts, and they're getting their sons and their daughters jobs. Once they get into an inner city school and they don't want to be, I know because I had one of the officials of this county who got his niece hired in my school system. She was no more qualified to be in there working with those students than a man in the mood, but they forced them on me. But ladies and gentlemen, through the help of God, I was able to work with this teacher and to get her to work with the students, and she turned out to be a very fine teacher. But ladies and gentlemen, through God, you can do anything. So what the Bible tell you, what man meant for bad, and they sent me this woman, and then noted that she wasn't qualified. But then I asked God to turn it around for me. And since God knows that my interest was in young people, he turned it around, and the young lady came out to be a good teacher. And she's still in the school system. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can turn things around. Now, back to this. But, ladies and gentlemen, majority of the students who are being arrested and placed into the detention center are from the African American community. Now, that is my problem. Why that each week I ask you to work with me and to listen to what's going on. I promise not to lie to you and tell you something wrong. But ladies and gentlemen, why is it that the African American community has to catch the brunt of all of the negative things? That's what I'm talking about. Listen to this. And let me read this if you don't mind. This is coming straight out of my paper. I'm not making this up. Children of color are disproportionately brought into juvenile court. Isn't that what I just said? This year, listen, around 80% have been children of color, according to the juvenile court director. 80%. According to the U.S. Department of Education Civil Rights Data Collection, 100% of the students referred to law enforcement from the school in 2013 to 2014 was black. I guess I need to read that again because you missed that. Listen, students. According to the U.S. Department of Education Civil Rights Data Collection, 100%, not 2%, not 1%, 100% of the students referred to law enforcement from the school. Now, this is not in my hometown. This is nationwide. Was 100% of the students was black. In 2011 to 2012, around 72.3% was black. Now, keep in mind, in 2011 to 2012 was 72.3%. Then the next year, 80% in 2014. I don't know if you want me to continue to research and look for the year 2015 and 16 and 2017 and 18 if we're at 80% in 2014. Okay. The number of arrests is also different from different schools. I don't get it. Ladies and gentlemen, why is it that we have what's called site-based management in my hometown and perhaps in your hometown? That simply means that I, as administrator, can run my school the way I want to, and you run yours the way you want to. Now, in my hometown and your hometown, you probably got way more than we do in 27 in California and in Utah and North Carolina. What in the hell is going on in that nobody has a school? When I was administrator of the school, it wasn't my school. The school belonged to the people. Why is it that a administrator is allowed to do whatever he darn well want to at his school, and then cross town, Miss Jones, she can do what she wants to, and the students are the same? Parents not saying anything. Civil rights leaders are not saying anything. Lay people are not saying anything. Sororities, fraternities, and you know the religious community is not saying anything. So therefore, business as usual, it goes on. And that is how you get that 80% African American. Then, as in the last election, we didn't go to the poll and record numbers like we should have. It didn't make any sense. We came out and supported President Obama. And then we have Hillary Clinton, which would have been far better, in my personal opinion. I let you beg to disagree with me if you like. then why didn't we come out to the poll? We should have. We stayed at home, and we now have distinguishing messenger, Donald Trump. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's not making any sense. Who told you? Listen to this. One school handled it one way, another school handles it another way, said the judge in my hometown. Who's running the school system? That I can do what I want to do. You can do what you want to do. But as soon as a child does what he or she wants to do, they suspend it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's wrong. But you see a trend. It's not just one school, but you see a trend. A lot of the trend has to do with the population of the school. Why would the population of the school have anything to do with how the school is being ran? My superintendents are bringing in, she's not hiring people within, she's hiring people outside. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to tell you somebody is telling me to hire Mr. So-and-so son, Mr. So-and-so nephew in another town. You don't have to be a rocket scientist, my God. Listen, a lot of the trend has to do with the personality of the people. I'm kind of whitening this out a little bit. Of the people running the school. Ladies and gentlemen, the judge is telling the truth. Let's listen to it again. A lot of the trends has to do with the personalities of the people running the school. What in the hell are the board doing? What in the hell is the superintendent doing? If she hires someone and their personality is involved, it's not about personality. It's about every child getting an education, every child being treated fairly. Why are we allowing in my hometown, and the same darn thing is going on in your hometown, you just don't want to get up off your rusty ducks and do something about it. But that's all I hear. Oh, look at them. They're wearing their pants all down. Oh, they cussing. Oh, they doing drugs. They gang banging. They just having babies. Well, who in the hell is lying in the shop? Don, come on here and talk to him. When you won't listen to me, what the hell you got to lose? Who are you going to listen to? Who told you that we can't solve this problem? Stay with me. Be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, what I would like to do for the remainder of the class time, allow me to read you 2 articles, and then we're going to wrap this thing up and close it because the clock on the wall says it's time for class to be over. This is an article in reference to Rick Snyder. Rick Snyder is the governor of Michigan. And it states here that water poison in chief, non-educator in command, kids in Michigan has no right to an education in state school. And this is the governor. This is who our good friends, the Republicans, has put in charge of Michigan government. And he is stating on November the 22nd, the day before Thanksgiving, if I'm correct, that kids in Michigan have no right to be educated in state schools. Ladies and gentlemen, if our so-called elite people are thinking like that, then that explains why Bubba is the way he is now. Bubba fed up with this crap, and you hadn't figured it out yet. But listen, it's pretty hard to top poison the water system of a whole town of people. Anything you do after that doesn't quite seem to measure up. So the fact that students in Detroit cannot read, did I tell you the same thing is going on in your hometown? Cannot read and are not educated is no big thanks to slick Rick Snyder. The students have no fundamental rights to literacy. So according to lawyers for the state of Michigan. All right, ladies, just listen to this. Decades of state disinvestment in and deliberate indifference in the Detroit school system has denied plaintiff school children access to the most basic building blocks of education, literacy, the suit claimed. The lawsuit said that schools are in slum-like condition. And you're concerned if I'm bringing it to you straight. That's why this is the class of straight talk. Listen. All right. The lawsuit says that the schools are in slum-like conditions. Now, you do know that that's in certain areas. And fundamentally incapable of delivering access to literacy. Anyone in their right mind knows if you can't read, you're going to have a very difficult time in life. All right. The case filed in federal court directly accused Governor Rick Snyder, the State Board of Education, and others of violating the civil rights of low-income students. Ladies and gentlemen, the governor, the State Board of Education, and others, wonder who the others are. If you hadn't figured it out, I don't imagine I'm going to tell you in my class, because you need to have some extra help. The lawsuit could face some challenges, said Langton, adding that while there are some difficulties, with the Detroit Public School, the judge could say that the solution may be best addressed by electing school board or through other political process. That's bull baloney. Ladies and gentlemen, that's ridiculous. Listen to this. This is coming from the Detroit Regional Workforce Fund. Found that 47% of Detroit people of Detroit, 47% of Detroit people are functionally illiterate. And you're concerned about not listening to the straight talk. Not able to fill out basic forms for getting jobs. Those type of basic everyday things. Reading a prescription, what's on the bottle, how many you should take. Just your basic everyday tasks. Some people, 47% of people living in Detroit cannot do. Some of Detroit suburbs also have a high number of functioning illiterate. 34% are illiterate in Pontiac, Michigan. 24% in South Field. A hearing on the lawsuit is scheduled for this coming February. The governor's office made no further comment. These are the people that we stay home and the elected that we see on the street and we kissing their butt. Ladies and gentlemen, that's ridiculous. Kids are going to ask you that question one day. Dad, Mom, what the hell did you do for me? They're going to ask that. They're going to ask because children are innocent. And they will say, Dad, Shanika, Bubba, they are my friends. Why didn't you make sure that they get the quality education? Now we got alarm system. Your windows are rolled up tight. You're afraid to go in certain areas because the rooster has crowed. Now those people are uneducated, unable to get jobs, able to fill out application, not even able to do the basic things that most of us are able to do. And you talking about the children? I dare you. Who told you that we couldn't turn this thing around? Who told you? Ladies and gentlemen, let's wrap up on Donald Trump. Donald Trump has picked his education Secretary of Education. And it says right here, why Donald Trump education pick would face barriers for vouchers. Donald Trump has made it perfectly clear that he is opposed to public education, that he's in favor of the voucher system. Due to time, I wish I could read you this article, but I do not have the time to read it. I'll just pick out some of the things, so just kind of stay with me. The United States spends over $600 billion a year on public K through 12 schools. Less than 9% of the money comes from federal government and is almost exclusively dedicated to specific population of students. Most notable students with disability, students of low-income community. There are no existing federal funds that can easily be turned into a voucher large enough to pay for school tuitions on the open market. Mr. Trump's $20 billion proposal would be, by itself, very expensive. It would be very hard to fit into the budget. Yet $20 million is nearly enough to finance vouchers nationwide, which is why Donald Trump's proposal assumed that the state would kick in another $110 billion. Now, to Ben Carson and the other African Americans, some of them was pastors of churches, who stood behind Donald Trump and said, pastors for Donald Trump, blacks for Donald Trump. Right here, he's going to spend $2 billion for the voucher system, and the voucher system, you do know, involves charter and private school. And he asking that the state, he assuming that the states would kick in another 100 and some. Ladies and gentlemen, public education is slipping right straight through the cracks. Now, let me conclude by saying this. Our teacher, Maggie, and I can't pronounce her name, so I'll spell it to you. Mynayer. I won't even attempt it because pronunciation is not my thing and I don't try to fake it. I'm real. But our teacher said this: we must empower students to reverse the Trump effect. Donald Trump has done much to damage many of my students. Just listen to this teacher talking hour. A sense of hope and belonging that would take years to overcome. Let me read that again. She says that her students' sense of hope and belonging that would take years to overcome. This is our so-called smart people that are running our government that we voted into office. Not anymore with me. If you're not for all of the people, you're not real, you can forget this black vote. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get real. You need to join the revolution. My students are losing faith in our government. Ladies and gentlemen, when you lose faith in the government, it's about over. My students, these are young minds, and you have sit back, not willing to compromise, not willing to come out, not willing to listen to me, not willing to work with me, not willing to even, you won't even pick up the phone. You won't even text. You won't tell me anything. You just look at me each week. Girl, I heard Mr. Mayweather talking. Who told you? Who told you that we couldn't win this war? My students are losing faith in our government to do what is best for us as a nation. Ladies and gentlemen, what a sad commentary. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me for another week. I hope to see you again next week. I hope you get busy and get concerned about what's going on in your hometown and what's going on with public education. I want to hear God say, when I see God, well done, Professor Mayweather, well done. What will God say when he see you? Why didn't you help the children? I heard you in the pulpit, but did you leave the pulpit and go out in the field and work with them? I heard you in the mayor's office. I heard you in the school board room. I heard you as a civil rights leader. But did you truly fight for my children? I would sure hate to end up God saying, I know you not. You have to do what's right for you, and I have to do what's right for me. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for joining me. I am Morris Merriweather, the host of Straight Talk in Room 503, and the author of Enough is Enough. Public education has spiraled out of control. Who told you that we couldn't win this war? But you got to quit shaking hands and grinning and hee-haw and kissing butt. You got to get busy for the kids. They're going to ask why. Why didn't you stand up and fight for me? You knew I couldn't. Ladies and gentlemen, until next week, give it some thought and make a decision what you're willing to do in the struggle. Thank you, and I'll see you again next week. Same place, same time, and don't be late. I'm calling the roll next week.